Hello, Writer's Workout community. My name is Amy Nielsen, and I am a literary agent at the Purcell Agency. Today, I am presenting From Concept to Contract, Navigating the Picture Book Journey. So let's get started. A little background about who I am. I am a former youth librarian of nearly 20 years. So 10 of those were at elementary, where I fell in love with picture books. I am also a published author of It Takes a Village, How to Build a Support System for Your Exceptional Needs Family, the picture book Goldilocks and the Three Bears, Understanding Autism Spectrum Disorder, and my young adult debut came out in May of 2024, and that is called Worth It. So I have a little experience in the picture book world prior to becoming a literary agent. So let's do a little bit of an overview on what you're going to learn and what you're going to get. So the topics that we are going to discuss is understanding your audience, starting with a strong concept, picture book story structure, showing versus telling, write with read aloud potential, polishing your manuscript before querying, researching the market, perfecting your pitch, and be patient but persistent. And at the end, you're going to get a bonus tip and a freebie. So understanding your audience. So this is really important because I have received picture book pitches that did not sound like they were written for children. So that's important. And kind of how you can make sure that your book is written for kids is, I think, for the two things that I think are most important are using age-appropriate language and short sentences. You want to keep your writing really concise. And then topics. Make sure your topic is interesting to kids. But there are also other audiences that you have to convince. Parents. So kids are your target audience, but they aren't typically running themselves to the store to purchase books. So the parents are. So I think it's also important to choose stories that parents like so that parents feel teach a message, a moral, or entertaining. So I think about the book Love You Forever by Robert Munsch, and I cannot read that without crying ever. And that's one that, it's a book for children, but it's more for parents, I think, too. I think also considering read aloud opportunities, so books that lend themselves to being good bedtime stories, or books that lend themselves to being around mealtime, or a new sibling being born. So thinking about topics also that parents would like. The other audience that you need to convince is teachers and librarians. And so here you can choose topics that promote discussion or lend to classroom activities. I think about The Very Hungry Caterpillar by Eric Carle, which is a book that not only talks about a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, but the opportunities for classroom activities are just like endless. Teachers and librarians are looking for quality writing and illustrations and timeless themes, things like family, friendship, school, pets, adventure, holidays, and nonfiction topics about things that they might be learning in school. So I think those are three audiences that you really want to consider when you're writing picture books. We also want to start with a strong concept. And what do I mean by that? Well, I think it's a great idea to study what is currently selling. Check out sites like Amazon and Goodreads, study what is upcoming. So places like Publishers Marketplace. Now that's a paid platform, but they do have a free platform called Publishers Lunch that you can sign up for. And that's an email that I believe comes most every day that's going to let you know what is up and coming and what's happening in the world of publishing. So I think that's a really good resource. Also, ask librarians. What do they think are some strong concepts that libraries are looking for right now? And I think additionally, it's important to know which topics are becoming obsolete. So, for example, books that only feature nuclear families, or know which topics are current, diverse families, know which topics are evergreen, things like holiday books, and to know what potential topics could be upcoming, like perhaps a new sport. So that reminds me of the reason why I said that is pickleball is taking the world by storm, but there are not a lot of picture books about that sport. So those are some ways to kind of think about starting with a strong concept. I have an example here. So another strong concept is books that lend themselves to series, either with a recurring character or recurring theme. And so this How to Catch A by Adam Wallace, illustrated by Andy Elkerton, and published through Source Books. How to Catch a Leprechaun, How to Catch a Unicorn. They have How to Catch an Elf. There's just endless opportunities. And so when you can come up with a concept like one of these, then you stand a really good chance at getting an agent or editor's attention. So when you decide that you're going to be a picture book author, structure is important to consider. And there are multiple different types of structures for picture books. So there is the linear structure, which is a story that's going to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And an example of that is my client Heather Stegall's book, Paisley's Big Birthday, where the main character wakes up in the morning of her birthday and thinks that she's going to be taller and can do things that she wasn't able to do. Well, that's not really how birthdays work. So she finds out that, even though it's her birthday, the day of, that it takes time to grow. So that would be a linear. Circular comes back to the beginning. So think about the book If You Give a Mouse a Cookie by Lori Numeroff, where, chaos ensues, but we kind of end up back in the end where we started. A cumulative story builds upon itself. So There Was an Old Lady Who Swallowed a Fly is an example of that. There are a couple other structures on the next slide. Parallel would be two parallel plots that may intersect. So my client Melissa Trimp's book, Ladybug Launch, is an example of that. One main character is a ladybug wanting to do big things in life, and the other main characters are three high school students in a classroom creating a ladybug experiment to send ladybugs into space. And that's a true story, and they actually ended up working with NASA and made that happen. So that would be an example of parallel plots. Interactive readers can participate. So my client June Small's book, Hear Them Roar, is where the kids push a button and you hear the animal sound that they make. So that would be an example of that. And then conceptual books, again, this is an evergreen area of picture books. They focus on a concept, such as counting or ABC, and then a different theme is used. So those are some different ideas. A couple more. Rhyming. So rhyming books can be great for humor, but very difficult to write. And so unless it is spot on, it is challenging. A great example of rhyming done right is my client Jocelyn Watkinson's book, The Three Canadian Pigs. And I'm going to read you a couple of lines from that book a little bit later. And there are also, believe it or not, wordless picture books. So Tuesday by David Weisner is a good example of that, where the pictures just tell the story. So I wanted to just share a few of these books. This is Paisley's Big Birthday, the one that I told you was linear. That was published by Clavis in 2023. This is Ladybug Launch, the one that was the parallel plots, published by McElderry, a division of Simon & Schuster, published in 2024. And then Hear Them Roar, and you can kind of see the little buttons that you push, Familius 2023, to hear the animal sounds. So section 4 is Show Don't Tell. We're going to let the illustrator do their job. We're going to hold back some of that instinct to over-describe what is happening. And so I know authors hear this a lot in many different genres, and it is something that we really need to think about. So, and I'm going to give you some examples of that. So, leave room for the illustrator. That is their job, to make your story come alive. Now, if you are submitting to an agent or a publisher, feel free to provide some illustration notes. I encourage you, if you do that, and you don't need to use illustration notes, but if there's some that you think for context or understanding they need to be there, what I recommend you do is your manuscript is going to be in black font, left justified. you're going to want to put the illustration notes over to the right side of the document and make them more of a gray font color. That way they don't, inhibit the reader, the agent, the editor, whomever, from, getting distracted from reading the story. So that's kind of how you want to format that. So, The Monster Above the Bed by Kaylee Pugh and art by Steph Liu. Let's look at a page from that where the artist, the illustrator, really got a chance to shine. So, reading this is going to be a little bit difficult for me. I had eye surgery on one eye 2 weeks ago. I'm having eye surgery on the next eye on Monday, so my vision's a little wonky, but I'm going to give it a go. So The Monster Above the Bed by Kaylee Pugh, illustrated by Steph Liu, published by Clarion in 2023. This is such a cute book. And when the lights went out, her troubles really began. Rattle, rattle, ew, wee, creak. There's no such thing as monsters, Blossom told herself. There's no such thing as, Mom, Dad, she yelled. And I can't see the rest because my head's in the way. But just look at the illustrations in this book. I mean, how super cute, how fun for a kid. And so, Kaylee did not over describe what was happening in this scene. The dialogue is very minimum. The wording is very minimal, but the artist just really got a chance to shine with this. So I think it's just super cute. I've given this book away as gifts to many children because I absolutely adore it. So the next thing you want to consider, I have a dog over here causing some chaos, so pardon that. The other thing you want to consider is write with read aloud potential. And as I said before, when you're writing for kids, you want to keep your sentences clear and concise. And as Kaylee did, you can play with sound. So she used onomatopoeia, which would eek, wee, kind of writing words that sound like the sound that they make. And those are fun to read aloud. Alliteration, which is repeating sounds. Repetition, if that's done intentional, can be really fun. And then, use dialogue as well. So this is The Three Canadian Pigs by Jocelyn Watkinson, illustrated by Marcus Cutler. And I'm going to hopefully attempt, if I can see it well, to read you a little bit of some of this story. And this is done in rhyme, and absolutely love this book too. I love all picture books. I just can't, pick my favorites. So The Three Canadian Pigs by Jocelyn Watkinson, illustrated by Marcus Cutler, published by Sleeping Bear in 2022. After their scrimmage, all smelly with sweat, three pigs met a wolf as they packed up their net. It's cold and I'm hungry, Wolf said with a plea. And you look delicious, he snarled at the three. So that's just a super, super fun read aloud. So polish your manuscript before querying. You might think, picture books are so short. What does she mean by polishing it? So let's get into it. So in a picture book, every word counts. I've said this already a couple of times, short and concise. You really want to try to keep your picture book at around 500 words or less. So some can, there are going to be some instances, especially if you're writing like narrative nonfiction or biographies where you may be higher than 500, but that's kind of the target word count. If I get a picture book in my inbox that's, inching toward 1,000, then that means to me, I read that as the picture book author probably hasn't really researched the market and done that polishing. So you want to cut any word not needed. You really want to, that word count, keep that small, those sentences concise, because again, a picture book is not just the words, it's also the pictures that tell the story. Make sure you have a solid entry and a solid ending. I had one of my picture book authors got a critique from an editor, and I loved the picture book, but the editor said maybe tweak that ending because it doesn't really kind of mirror the beginning, if you will. So, and she tweaked it based on that editor's response, and it's great. So use beta readers, but also use kids. That is who you're writing for. So you want to make sure before you start querying, whether that's agents or editors, that you get feedback from kids. that is who you're writing for. So get feedback from your target audience. Another book I love, Brian Gerland's The Book of Rules. I really encourage you to go on X, and there's a video of him reading part of this book that is absolutely hilarious. I will not be able to do it the justice that he can, but I'm going to share with you some of that book. And he does a great job with language. So this is absolutely, first off, again, illustrated by Tom Knight, the publisher Farrar Straus, not sure how to say that word, but 2021. Like, just looking at this illustration cracks me up. And I can imagine myself when I was a children's librarian or a second grade teacher reading this book to my kids. And because we as teachers and librarians, we tell them to sit crisscross applesauce when they come to our rug for story time. And so seeing these kids sitting crisscross applesauce on top of applesauce, and then that's our main character, Dennis, in an applesauce jar, absolutely hilarious. But so let's read these words. Rule number 2, sit up straight. Sit up tall, sit crisscross applesauce. Applesaucier, applesauciest. Nice. Now stay that way and you won't be Dennis food. I just absolutely think this is hilarious. So, and he's so concise with his language and lets the illustrations shine. So there's no overwritten sentences or words or anything like that. It's just super fun. 7, research the market. So you want to look for agents and editors that publish what you write. So that is really important. When I get a submission, and I also rep young adult and adult, and if I get a submission that's high concept fantasy, immediately it's a no for me because I don't rep that. But I also appreciate when I see that authors have done their research and they're sending me stuff that I'm looking for. I had a pitch today from a picture book author, and it was for a hyperbolic zany book, which is exactly the type of picture books that I love. And she pitched that to me because she had done that research. So you want to also read widely in your genre. Picture book is not a genre. It is an age range. It is the genre of picture books is going to be the gamut of genre: nonfiction, narrative nonfiction, biography, humor, bedtime, holiday, inspirational, etc. So you want to just read widely in your genre and look for agents that are wanting to publish what you write. And you can find that typically at Manuscript Wishlist. Perfect your pitch. So I'm going to read you a pitch from an author that I signed from this pitch, and it's absolutely hilarious. So the book is called Reggie's Wedgie, An Uncomfortable Day. A gnarly wedgie threatens to derail Reggie's entire day when his new underwear get lodged where the sun don't shine. Told in rhyme and too many synonyms for but, Reggie finds he cannot get a moment's peace to pick his wedgie out, landing him in all sorts of silly and precarious situations until a cruciferous vegetable helps him with a wicked case of gas. I mean, I was cracking up when I read this. So, but there's something else important that I want to tell you here. So we have not gotten a deal on this manuscript yet. We have gotten a deal on a different manuscript. So potty humor can be hit or miss. There are editors that absolutely love it, and there are some that are like, it's just not my thing. And although this isn't really potty humor, it kind of dips into potty humor territory. But the good news about this author is she had multiple other polished manuscripts as well. So while we were getting kind of iffy feedback from the market on this one, we were getting great feedback on other of her work. So you do want to make sure that you have multiple polished manuscripts as a picture book author before you start querying. So, but this entire pitch is only 65 words long. And if you think about a picture book only being around 500, your pitch should be pretty short. You should be able to nail it down really short. And now, of course, in the query, you're going to have the metadata at the top, which is going to be the title, word count, age range, genre, your comps. then your pitch, and then your bio at the bottom. And so this would be that middle part of that query letter. So she nailed it. And to this day, I cannot wait to find an editor that is looking for this, because it is absolutely hilarious, just what we need. And kids, they love potty humor. So it's just not always what the adults are looking for. I love it. I don't know what that says about me. Okay, 9. Be patient and persistent. Passes are part of the process. They hurt, especially in the beginning, but when you get a pass from an agent, consider it a blessing. And what I mean is that if they passed, there was a reason. And either it may be they already have something similar to what you've written. It may be that they just don't feel that they have the right vision for your work. It could be that they just have too many, authors on their list at the time that write what you write. But you don't want an agent to offer representation that is not 100% ready and willing to do everything they can to help get you across that finish line. So you really want to make sure that you're pitching to the right people, and that when you get a pass, that it's like, all right, cool, I'm one step closer to getting a yes. Now, while you're querying, write something else while you're waiting. Keep those creative juices flowing. Keep writing. And if you haven't heard from an agent or a publisher after about 3 months, nudge them. The only reason I would say to be cautious of this is there are some small presses that accept unagented manuscripts that will have on their website, if you have not heard from us in 6 months, consider it a pass, that we do not respond to every submission. So when I keep track of my authors' submissions that I'm sending out, I note that in my spreadsheet, and I put the date that the 6 months would be up. So that way I can, pay attention, and I'm not going to nudge that editor or that publisher if they've already said on their website. So that research and respecting those boundaries is really important, because if you respect those boundaries and the 6 months has come up and you didn't hear anything, it may be a good opportunity for you to submit something else, because it might have been a yes for that project or no for that project, but it might be a yes for something else. Oh, my bonus tip and resources guide. My bonus tip is have fun. Writing picture books should fill you with joy. And if it gets to where it's not filling you with joy, take a break. But you should always be having fun. To me, picture books that's what it's about, having fun. So I am going to be offering you a free resources guide. And these are the types of resources that is going to be in this guide. Writing organizations that you might consider joining, educational resources, critique and community, submission and publishing resources, inspiration and research resources, industry news, tools for writers, and resources for illustrators and author illustrators. So I'm looking forward to that guide, hopefully giving you a lot more information than I was able to give you in this presentation. So that's it from me, from concept to contract, navigating the picture book journey. I hope that this was helpful for you. And my contact info, you can find more writing resources at www.amynielsenauthor.com. That's AMYNIELSEN. And on X is where I'm most active, Amy Nielsen 06. I am hoping to become more active on Blue Sky. Over there, I'm just going to be at Amy Nielsen. So again, thank you for spending this time with me. Hopefully you gained something from this presentation, and I'm sure you're going to gain a lot more from the other amazing presenters. And thank you to the Writers Workout for putting this on again for authors. Have a great rest of your day.